The morning of my college graduation should have felt like triumph. Sunlight streamed through the blinds of my cramped studio apartment, cutting thin bars of gold across the boxes stacked in the corner. Boxes I'd been slowly filling with the fragments of my student life. My black cap and gown hung neatly from the back of my desk chair, still protected in a crinkly dry cleaner's bag, like a costume waiting for the final act. On my tiny kitchenette counter sat the diploma folder the school had mailed ahead of time, its embossed university crest gleaming faintly like a medal I'd never been awarded. I should have felt proud, accomplished, ready to walk across that stage and finally have my name called. Instead, I sat cross-legged on my unmed bed, my phone in my hand, refreshing the screen over and over until my thumb ached. Nothing. No, "Good luck today, sweetie," from Mom. No, "Couldn't be prouder of you," from Dad. Not even a quick "Congrats, sis," from Alex, my brother who seemed to collect applause as naturally as he breathed. What I did have was Instagram. I shouldn't have looked, but I did, because sometimes pain is magnetic. Alex's profile lit up with photo after photo from his birthday party the night before. A house draped in balloons, a glowing neon sign reading "Happy 28th, Legend," a crush of friends with cocktails in hand, my parents grinning front and center. The comments cut sharper than knives. Mom had written, "Our shining star, we love you to the moon and back." Dad had added, "Proud of my boy, keep soaring high." I stared at the screen until the letters blurred. Today was my day. 4 years of killing myself over papers and projects, working 2 part-time jobs to cover rent, and landing an internship that turned into a full-time offer before graduation. All of it had built to this one milestone. And yet they had chosen Alex's party over my ceremony without hesitation, as if my achievement could be rescheduled, as if my degree wasn't worth standing in the bleachers for. The silence of my phone was louder than any crowd. I pressed the lock button, letting my own reflection stare back at me in the dark glass. My eyes were rimmed red, my hair in the messy bun I hadn't bothered to fix, and my graduation gown hanging like a taunt in the background. I thought about the other times they'd missed me. The high school honor roll breakfast where I sat alone at a table set for 4, the senior design showcase where I'd hung my architecture models under bright spotlights only to greet empty rows. Always there had been a reason. Always, Alex had needed them more. And always, I'd told myself it didn't matter. But sitting there on my bed, with sunlight slipping across my carpet and silence swallowing my phone, I realized it did matter. It mattered a lot. I refused to let this milestone dissolve into invisibility. If my family wasn't going to show up for me, then I would show up for myself. I opened my laptop, my hands trembling slightly, and typed, "Seattle starter homes under $50,000 into Zillow," half expecting the page to return nothing but junk. Instead, a row of modest listings filled the screen: 1-bedroom condos, tiny fixer-uppers, rundown townhouses with wildflower yards. None of them screamed luxury, but they whispered something far more powerful: independence, freedom, a place that would be mine, untouchable by anyone else's priorities. My bank account balance hovered just over $43,000, every penny saved from scholarships, late-night barista shifts, and the generous paycheck from my internship. It was barely enough for a down payment, but it was real, it was solid, and it was mine. A dangerous electric thought sparked in my chest, bright enough to burn away the tears still threatening my eyes. If Alex got neon parties and endless praise, then I'd claim something no one could dismiss, no one could take away. A $40,000 home, my own space, my own declaration that I existed, that I had accomplished something monumental even if they weren't there to clap for me. I closed my laptop, wiped my cheeks with the back of my sleeve, and whispered to the empty apartment, my voice sounding stronger than I felt. They skipped my graduation. I'll buy a home without telling them. The next morning, the city felt sharper, like the air itself was daring me to follow through. I pulled my hair into a clean ponytail, slipped into jeans and a blazer that made me look more professional than I felt, and grabbed my laptop bag. Zillow still glowed on my screen from the night before, tabs of listings open like little windows into possible futures. One photo stopped me. A tired, one-bedroom condo on the edge of Capitol Hill. Beige carpet, brass fixtures, walls the color of old oatmeal. To anyone else, it was a box. To me, it was possibility. I hit the request a tour button before I could overthink. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. "Hi, this is Jordan from Century 21. I saw you're interested in the Madison Street condo. Do you want to see it today?" My pulse kicked. Yes, today. At noon, I stood on the cracked sidewalk outside the building, its brick facade chipped but charming, ivy climbing up the side like it was refusing to give up. Jordan appeared, a crisp suit jacket, clipboard in hand, and a smile that sized me up instantly. "You must be Emery. Ready to see your first place?" My stomach flipped at the word your, but I nodded. The lobby smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and dust, the kind of scent that carried both neglect and potential. The condo itself was small, just a galley kitchen, a living room with a sliding door that led to a narrow balcony, a bedroom big enough for a queen bed if you angled it right. The carpet was worn, the paint dull, the appliances relics from the 90s. But when I stood in the living room, light streaming through the sliding door, I felt something I hadn't in months. Peace. This was mine, not Alex's party, not my parents' shadow, not another moment waiting for recognition that would never come. Just me. "It's listed at $39,900, Jordan said, flipping through his clipboard. "It needs some updates, but structurally it's sound. You'd have a mortgage payment lower than most rents in Seattle." He looked up, maybe expecting hesitation. Instead, I felt my shoulders straighten. "What's the process to make an offer?" His eyebrows flicked upward, the smallest crack in his professional mask, but he quickly recovered. "We'd start with a pre-approval letter from your bank. Do you have financing lined up?" I pulled in a steady breath. "I have cash for a down payment, more than half." Saying the words out loud felt intoxicating. Years of sacrifice, skipping nights out, taking extra shifts, saving gift cards instead of spending them, condensed into this one moment of power. We sat at the narrow kitchen counter while he explained the paperwork. My fingers itched to sign, to stake my claim before anyone could talk me out of it. As Jordan walked me back out to the sidewalk, he asked lightly, "So, who's coming to see the place with you? Parents? Friends?" I let out a short laugh that sounded harsher than I meant. "No one. Just me." He hesitated, then nodded. Sometimes that's the best way. Back in my car, I stared at my phone, half expecting a text from Mom to finally appear. "Good luck at graduation yesterday. Sorry we missed it." But nothing lit the screen. Only Alex's newest Instagram post, a boomerang of him clinking champagne glasses with his friends. My chest tightened, then loosened just as quickly. Let him have the parties. I had just found the first four walls of my own kingdom. 2 weeks later, my signature bled across more papers than I thought possible. Page after page, initials and signatures, my handwriting slowly losing its sharp edges, but my resolve never wavering. The fluorescent lights of the title office buzzed overhead, as if they too were impatient for me to finish. At the end, Jordan slid a key across the polished desk. It was an ordinary brass key, slightly worn, but it gleamed in my palm like treasure. For the first time in my life, I owned something no one else could diminish or overlook. Mine. Not shared, not borrowed, not conditional. Mine. When I stepped into the condo later that afternoon, the silence was absolute. No neighbors blasting music, no mom calling me into the kitchen to fetch something for Alex, no constant undercurrent of comparison humming beneath every moment. Just the sound of my own breath. I set the keys on the counter and sat cross-legged in the middle of the empty living room, the beige carpet scratchy against my legs. For dinner, I picked up cheap takeout from the Thai place down the street, Pod CU, and a Coke, and ate it on the floor straight from the container. It felt like a banquet. My phone buzzed while I chewed. For a split second, I thought maybe, just maybe, it was Mom, or Dad, or even Alex, remembering that his sister existed. Instead, it was Chase, a colleague from my internship, sending a meme about graduation hangovers. I laughed, wiped sauce from my chin,
and realized how light I felt without the weight of their silence crushing me. Later that night, I pulled out an old blanket, spread it across the floor, and stretched out beneath the bare ceiling. The city hummed faintly outside the sliding glass door, but here, in these four walls, I felt untouchable. I whispered into the dark, "Happy graduation, Emery. You did it." The next morning, I dressed deliberately, white blouse, black slacks, hair sleek, and drove back to the condo with a tote bag full of cleaning supplies. The place smelled faintly of dust and disuse. I scrubbed countertops, wiped down cabinets, vacuumed until the carpet's piles stood straighter. By mid-afternoon, sunlight poured through the sliding door, and the condo looked less like a relic and more like a canvas. I snapped a photo of the empty living room, light glowing across the carpet. My thumb hovered over Instagram, hesitation coiled in my chest. This wasn't just a picture, it was a declaration. Finally, I typed the caption, "Graduated, bought my first home, all on my own. Here's to new beginnings." I hit post before I could change my mind. Notifications erupted almost instantly. College friends, co-workers, even my old high school lab partner. Likes, comments, congratulations flooding in. "Wow, Emery, incredible. You're such an inspiration. Dream big, girl, you deserve it." Each one landed like a bomb over years of invisibility. Then the name I dreaded. Mom. The text preview blinked across my screen. Emery Jean Blake. What is this about a house? No congratulations, no "so proud," just suspicion wrapped in formality, my full name heavy with judgment. Seconds later, another text. "Call me immediately." Then Dad, "Is this a joke? How on earth could you afford this?" And finally Alex, the cherry on the cake. "LOL. You really bought a condo. Did Mom and Dad know? They're freaking out." I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. Not with fear, but with something hotter, sharper. For once they weren't ignoring me. For once I was the center of the conversation. Not because I begged for attention, but because I had claimed something undeniable. I locked my phone, leaned back against the freshly scrubbed wall, and smiled to myself. Let them freak out. Let them stew. They skipped my graduation. They didn't get to skip this.
3 nights later, the text came. "Dinner. Tomorrow. 6 o'clock sharp. Family only." It wasn't phrased as an invitation. It never was. My parents' house in Bellevue looked exactly as it had for years, the wide driveway filled with cars, the manicured hedges trimmed within an inch of their lives. I parked my used Toyota right beside Dad's glossy black SUV, and for the first time, the contrast didn't sting. I had keys to something more permanent now, something they couldn't belittle. Inside, the dining room gleamed under Mom's chandelier, the maple table set with good china and polished silver. They always brought out the best for Alex's milestones. Apparently, my first home purchase qualified as shocking enough to warrant the same. Mom's eyes flicked to me the moment I stepped inside. "Emery," she said, her voice tight, "what is this about buying a condo without telling us?" Dad crossed his arms, his expression equal parts disbelief and disappointment. "Real estate isn't a joke, Emery. You can't just impulsively buy property. Do you even understand taxes, maintenance, HOA fees?" Across the table, Alex smirked, his wine glass poised like he was watching a comedy show. "Wow, Em, bold move. Didn't think you had it in you." His words were meant as a jab, but I felt a smile tug at the corners of my mouth. "Didn't you?" I said softly, sliding into my seat. For a moment, silence stretched. The smell of roasted chicken hung heavy in the air, mingling with the unspoken truth I'd carried for years. I let my gaze travel over the table. Mom, tense and scolding, Dad, skeptical, Alex, smug. And then I spoke. "You skipped my graduation." The words cut the air like glass. Mom's fork clattered against her plate. "We explained this. Your brother's party was already planned." "No." My voice came out steadier than I expected. "You didn't just skip a ceremony, you skipped me. For years. Every time there was a choice, it was Alex. Every birthday, every recital, every moment that should have been mine, you looked past me." Dad frowned, bristling. "That's not fair." "Isn't it?" I leaned forward, my hands flat on the table. Do you even remember my high school honor roll breakfast? You promised you'd come, but Alex had a soccer tournament. Or my senior showcase? Empty rows while I stood there with my models. Or my 21st birthday? You canceled dinner because Alex booked a gig with his band. I swallowed, my throat burning, but I refused to stop. This condo? It's not impulsive. It's deliberate. It's me deciding that if you won't recognize my milestones, I will. Alex shifted uncomfortably, his smirk fading. Mom's eyes glistened, but she stayed silent. Dad cleared his throat. You could have told us. We would have advised you. I didn't need advice. I needed support. And since I've never had it from you, I gave it to myself. That's what that condo is. My support. My recognition. My life. The grandfather clock in the corner ticked, each second punctuating the silence that followed. For once, Alex had nothing witty to add. Mom dabbed her eyes with her napkin. Dad looked at me as though he'd been slapped, and I sat taller, my spine straight, my voice unwavering. I don't need you to clap for me anymore. I just need you to understand that I'm done clapping for myself in the shadows. A year later, I woke to the soft hum of morning traffic drifting through the cracked open balcony door of my condo. My condo! The walls were no longer beige. I'd painted them a clean, bright white, hung shelves lined with books and plants, added a rug in deep emerald green that warmed the entire space. The kitchen had new hardware I'd installed myself, the kind of small transformation that made the place feel like it had always been waiting for me. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. I squinted at the screen and blinked in disbelief. Dad. Happy graduation anniversary, kiddo. Proud of you. A minute later, Mom, we're making dinner Saturday. Your favorite. Pasta with lemon cream sauce. We'd love for you to come. Then, almost hesitantly, Alex, hey, I saw your firm posted about that coffee shop you designed. It looks amazing. Congrats, sis. The knot in my chest loosened. But I didn't mistake their messages for magic. Families don't undo decades in a year. But there were cracks in the pattern now, little beams of light breaking through. At work, my name was printed first on the latest design proposal, the one that landed us a new downtown client. In my fridge, champagne chilled for no particular reason, except that I'd decided I was worth celebrating anytime I wanted. That afternoon, I stopped by Pike Place Market and bought myself a small chocolate cake. Nothing fancy, just something I could carry home in a white box tied with string. I set it on my counter, lit a single candle, and whispered the same words I'd spoken a year ago. Happy graduation, Emery. You did it. Only this time, it wasn't a consolation. It was a reminder, a promise. Because whether my family clapped or not, I'd never again sit quietly in the shadows, waiting to be seen. I was here. I was enough. And I built a life that no one could skip.